Good day, everyone. My name is Lebo from SNG Grant Thornton. In recognition of International Internal Audit Awareness Month this May, we have our leaders who will be talking about internal audit. For short introductions, can I start with you, Ria? Please introduce yourself.
I'm Ria Pretorius. I'm working in the internal audit space for over 20 years now, and I'm loving every moment of it. I'm the service line leader for the team where internal audit is part of, and I look forward to this discussion today. Let me hand over to Omar for introductions.
Hi, Lebo. Hi, Ria. Umar Hassan. I'm a leader in SNG Grant Thornton in the Program Assurance and Advisory Division. Internal auditing, very exciting topic for me. Passionate about it. Been part of internal audit functions in different organizations over the past 15 years. This month for me is a great opportunity for us to raise the profile and awareness of internal audit, and also to take stock and reflect back in terms of what does it mean to be an internal auditor and what's the future of it. So look forward to sharing and engaging in this platform. I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Fana. Gerdelian, do you go?
Hi, I'm Gerdelian Taylor. I've been in the profession for the past 23 years. I've been part of SNG Grant Thornton since 2005, chartered accountant, very passionate about internal audit, corporate governance, risk management, IT audit, and looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for the introductions. Just to kick off our discussions, probably our colleague Fana will join us a bit later. Ria, can I start with you? Tell us, what is the importance of internal audit in today's context?
Sure, Lebo, it is, if you look at the pace of change and how organizations are changing, the world is changing, the volume of new regulatory changes, the role of internal audit is simply becoming more important every day. Internal audit plays that role where they are the independent, objective eyes and ears for an organization, where they ask the so what questions, they look out for what can go wrong, and they're actually helping organizations to achieve the strategic objectives. So from my perspective, I've seen how internal audit are just increasingly involved at a strategic level. And that for me is just increasing every day. It's not stopping. So it's certainly some of the most exciting times to be an internal auditor.
That's interesting. What are the key things the internal audit function requires to improve the value and the impact to organizations?
It goes without saying, integrity, objectivity, independence, those are the building blocks that should remain always in place. But then it is about getting to know the organization really, really well. Get to know the business, the strategy. And when I talk about business, I actually mean the nitty-gritty about the business. Go out to operational sites, the mines, and truly understand what the business is about. To in that way help the organization to identify risks, come up with controls, efficiencies, and it's important that internal audit are positioned at the right level and respected. Unfortunately, I've seen situations where internal audit functions report to a very low level in the organization, and their voice aren't heard. But then when you actually have them reporting at the right level, they can truly provide insights that help the organization to move forward and take the opportunities. As I always say, with each risk, there's an opportunity. And one should look at the rosy side of life. Why not, right?
Gerdelian, can I move over to you? Internal audit functions are either in-house or co-sourced. Please share with us the benefits of the different models.
Yes, absolutely. You know what? If they outsource or co-source to a firm like SNG Grant Thornton, they have access to all our skills and capabilities, such as internal audit, risk management, corporate governance, IT audit, program assurance, data analytics. I can name them all. But for an in-house function to employ all those skills would cost a lot. To outsource or co-source to a firm like SNG Grant Thornton, you can have an integrated approach at the end of the day, where we use our top technologies and tools. Some of us that we have developed in-house, some of it is technologies that we have acquired, but we utilize that in our audits. We are very agile in our service delivery also, and you as a client will receive dedicated, directed time. So we will discover what is important to you. We will analyze your strategy, align it with your strategic risks, and our internal audit plan will actually be integrated internal audit plans, taking into consideration your risk from a strategic as well as operational level, and provide you that detailed advice and recommendations to add value to your organizations. I honestly think by co-source or outsource as an organization, you will save a lot of money and you will have access to all these skills that I've just mentioned.
And please tell us about the relationship between external and audit and internal audit.
I'm so glad you asked that question, Lebu. For me, it is critical that internal audit and external audit must have a very good relationship. It's critical from an internal audit perspective to share your reports, to share your working papers with external auditors. From where we are coming as SNG Grant Thornton, we have standing planning meetings with external auditors. During that meetings, we agree on what work external audit will place reliance on, and we also agree in those meetings what sample sizes will be sufficient for external audit to rely on our work. But then that also leads us to combined assurance. Combined assurance is critical in the world of internal audit today. We as SNG Grant Thorntons are the forerunners when it comes to combined assurance. We have developed combined assurance models to our clients. We've rolled it out. We have established the forums for combined assurance for clients. And we have also, where there's existing combined assurance, assure it and provide assurance reports to that. Now you may ask me, what is combined assurance? Organizations have different assurance providers, like internal audit, for example, like external audit. There's health and safety experts who plays an assurance role. Management themselves play a very important role when it comes to assurance and oversight. So combined assurance is actually a model that's developed to make sure that all these service providers are combined in a forum. And we have a dedicated methodology within SNG Grant Thornton from planning stage to execution stage to reporting stage, where we roll combined assurance out for you as an organization. It can be totally outsourced to us. Alternatively, we can oversee the process, or alternatively, we can play a role to provide assurance. So I'm very excited of the way where combined assurance is going at the moment. I can see the benefit combined assurance is playing in the lives of clients and organizations. And we certainly, as a service provider, can provide a lot of insight and help with combined assurance level.
Omar, can I move over to you? Audit of the future is a concept being thrown around. What is it in practical terms? Can you just lay it out for us?
Surely, Lebo. I think it's a concept thrown around for many years, and I think way too long, right? So for me, audit of the future is something that's been spoken about in many different organizations. I see it often. And for me, the future is now, right? What does it actually mean is actually it looks at requiring a shift in mindset, a shift in thinking, ability to embrace the culture of change and innovation when it comes to audit. We're seeing there's an advancement in technology across organizations. And in this rapid changing environment where we've got a fast-paced technology environment, audit needs to shift focus to align to that, to ensure that we remain credible, we remain authentic in what we're saying, and also we provide real-time assurance to management that adds value to the area. For me, the audit of the future touches three elements. One, the use of technology and automation of testing. What is that? Is the ability of audit departments and audit leaders to leverage of technology to make and provide efficiency in the way in which internal audit departments actually operate. We've seen some of the organizations explore the use of drones, for example, whether it's in the mining industry or in the manufacturing industry. But that's an element of using technology for the advantage. We look at automation of testing when it comes to IT audit testing. The more use of that there is, can create more efficiencies in the environment, also provide value to the organization from that perspective. The second area for me is a big game changer as well, is the use of data. Data for me is an area that's available to organizations throughout. And the internal audit's ability to extract, analyze, investigate, interpret data and provide that data as an objective view to management for decision making and risk taking will be key. So the ability to leverage data in a strategic way will be key for internal audit functions. And another one that's key and close to my heart is almost looking at the culture of internal audit, of a culture of previously seen as a reactive function, a function that almost provides a view of an environment in a situation post the effect, or provides it after the effect, is almost transforming that to be more agile, as my colleagues have said, is providing real-time agile assurance to the organizations. What does it actually mean? It's again a shift in mindset of thinking of how do we operate as internal audit functions? Do we have an audit plan that's rigid, which moves more to an audit plan that's more flexible, and getting audit committees on board to align to that type of thinking and that type of working. Also providing a continuous assurance across the spectrum of the organization when it comes to risk. So it's providing not once-off views around cybersecurity, once-off view around access management, etc., but trying to set the organization function up where you can provide real-time continuous assurance in those areas. For me, the audit of the future is going to be an audit function that has a very strong voice around the executive table, because you position in a way that can provide real-time feedback that is quick and agile to the business.
And just to follow up on that, what is the role of internal audit with regards to organizational change?
I mean, for me, let's maybe unpack that. So for organizational change, of course, we see that as quite key for organizations to deliver on either strategic or transformational agenda, right? So organizations kick off change initiatives as the vehicle to deliver on their strategy, whether their strategy is to have a more digital organization, whether it's to grow their customer base, etc. Often we've seen in the past internal audit functions look at those solutions post the implementation of it, which is too late, right? Either the organization spent a lot of money and not reaped the benefit, or they've made an impact to the control environment without getting value out of it. The role of internal audit has become more and more important over the past years, seeing the changes we've experienced in the South Africa international context as well. We see organizations move rapidly into digital, rapidly into new services, new products, etc. Internal audit has a very unique position to provide real value to the organization. Again, coming down to a term which is coming around independent advisors rather than independent assurance providers, to be able to provide risk advice or risk assurance to management real time as and when they're building out these new solutions, as and when they're building out these new products. So positioning yourself, positioning internal audit to take on the assurance and the oversight of these key initiatives is, for me, not a nice to have, but a must have, because that actually helps the organization to deliver their strategy in a way that's going to meet their objectives. It helps the internal audit function provide value to that strategy and support the organization in improving the control environment, support the organization improving their customers, service their customers, and allowing the organization to actually meet its objectives from a strategy and a business objective perspective itself. So the positioning for internal audit there is really critical. The ability to provide assurance there is essential and a must-have from going forward, in my view.
And how do organizations make this practical, Omar?
Yeah, interesting question, Lewa, and I get the question from clients from time to time as well. It's not as easy as taking an IT auditor or business auditor and say, now we're building this assurance over change and the strategy. So it takes the good thing I see is there's a shift in focus across the private sector. We can see mature internal audit functions taking this seriously and actually putting investment behind building assurance and around their change business or the organizational change. Making it practical is almost the internal audit function needs to understand what's the size of change in the organization, what is the strategy of the organization. So again, getting the function to think strategically. Where is our organization going? How do we support our organization to get there? How do we protect the organization from any regulatory breaches? How do we protect them from impacting the customer, impacting us from a risk perspective? That then changes the thinking from a mindset to say, this is where I would like to focus the internal audit function to support the organization on this journey itself. Then it comes down to the second part of the question, which is almost looking at, so how do we get there? What's the capability to get there? It is an expensive exercise to go and build a fully fledged capability on your own. And does it actually make sense? No, because you want to leverage off industry experience. You want to leverage off SMEs in the market. And we always work with organizations to say, how do you create a hybrid approach where you build some capability internally to support you in providing assurance of organizational change, but also leverage of expertise in the area like we've built to use the resources that have actually done this type of work before, has been in this type of organizational change before, to support you on providing assurance on the organizational change journey, as they call it, the change book of work. So working with a model of leveraging, and as Leon mentioned, a co-sourcing model with external providers, it would be key. It allows you to tap into industry knowledge, allows you to tap into expertise while providing value to your organization as an internal audit perspective. So it requires strategic planning and almost look at different approaches to execute on it.
Thanks for that, Omar. Hi, Fanda. Thank you for joining us. Can I get a brief introduction from you, please?
My name is Fanda Manana, I'm a director who's got over 20 years experience in internal audit advisory services and business consulting.
Thanks for the introduction. Fana, what skills and mindset are required to be effective as an internal auditor?
Well, starting with the mindset, you need to understand that, organizations are there with stakeholders and shareholders and communities and regulators and everybody. As people advance in technology, as Omar says, there are certain risks and controls that need to be looked at, from the regulator's point of view to make sure that things are not out of, surveillance. And from the business point of view, so that the business doesn't want to implement something that will be susceptible to fraud, cyber, and a lot of other business imperatives. So the mindset should be, you must be part of business, as they plan with them, and you try to plan ahead with them just because you're an expert in governance, risk, and compliance. So that is the mindset. In relation to qualifications and becoming an internal auditor, I think things have changed a lot, as my colleagues have alluded. Previously with the big com accounting, or in internal audit or honors, used to be so attractive to everybody. But right now, while those skills are still required, the industry is looking at people with certain specialist skills. They take people with computer science and make them auditors. They take engineers and make them auditors. So you have to always think about where you want to specialize, as an internal auditor, and continue to learn, continue to study, continue to train, and I think you can move with the business of today if you do so.
And once someone has the qualifications, what does it take to build a career in internal audit?
Well, basically, there is what we call industry, where people, can join, and most industries have got their own, training programs and all that, which are very structured towards that industry. Financial institutions will have their own training programs which are structured towards financial institutions. Mining companies will also have the same thing. So it depends where you want to go. It depends where you get your job. But as long as you have, the mindset to learn, there's nothing impossible. That's what I always think of.
Okay, thanks, Fana. Ria, back to you. What is the return on investment for internal audit?
Wow, Lebo, that's a tough one. That question gets asked often because particularly when internal auditors want to, ask for greater budgets, employ more people, buy sexy tools to keep up with the changes in organizations, it gets challenged. The CFOs and the financial directors challenge and say, what are we getting from internal audit? So it needs to be looked at a number of facets. It's not just simply looking at the number of people times their salary cost and say, what do we get for that? Do you want to measure it around the number of audits that's been executed? Do you measure it around the number of audit findings? Definitely not. Yes, some of those are important considerations because one needs to execute against a plan and deliver some value. But it is a lot more important to look at the insights that internal audit functions provide, helping the organization to move forward. In my experience, where internal audits are actually working alongside the organization and working with the organization to achieve its objectives, move the control environment forward. So maybe, for example, there's been a situation where certain pockets of the organization had poor controls, but with the help of internal audit, those control environments are improved, and the overall risks in the organization are reduced. Those are all some of the elements that need to be taken into account when one look at the benefits and the return on investment of internal audit. And that's also how one need to look at future investments to make sure your internal audit functions stay valid and up to date with what's happening.
Thanks, Ria. And to conclude, can I get your thoughts of what you think the future of internal audit is, given advancements in technology and agility? Fana, maybe can you go first, please?
Look, it's interesting times. As my colleagues have said, I mean, if you don't move with the times, you're gonna be left behind. You just have to be relevant to business, to society, to regulators, and you name it. You need to stay relevant for me, and you can only be relevant if you continuously get updated with the developments in technology. You updated with what is happening in businesses, digitization, automation, and all that, and you continue to advise management, on their business. For me, that's the key thing. Yes, providing assurance will always be important, but I think for you to be seen as somebody who's really, really adding value to the organization, you just have to be relevant and know the future.
Gerdelian, your thoughts?
I agree with what Fana said, and I also think it's critical, data analytics going forward for internal audit. Make sure you run data analytics for sample sizing, focus on exceptions, use your exception reports to analyze those root cause analysis, and focus on that to add value to the organization. Future of internal audit also, we have all spoken about technology and how important that is. For me, integrated reporting and sustainability reporting, ESG, that becomes critical. And for internal audit, the role that internal audit is going to play in the future is critical. Readiness assessments with regards to ESG, assisting our clients with reviewing the accuracy of information that's going into an integrated and sustainability report is going to be critical. And yes, internal audit for me will become, is already, but will become more and more a management tool. Assist management to go forward, assist management to have some future forward thinking and alignment to their strategy and strategic plan. It's going to be critical for internal audit to play that management tool relationship in future, having a good knowledge of the strategy of the client and assisting the client with the strategy internal control wise to make sure that we strengthen their internal control environment as internal auditors.
Omar, your thoughts, please.
For me, it's exciting, right? So the role of internal audit going forward is going to be very exciting. I think the voice of internal audit on the executive table is going to be much louder going forward. The reason why I say that, I think if we look at what we've said now in the past few minutes, is we're talking about access to data, leveraging automation, efficiency, etc. As an internal auditor, you're going to have all this information at your disposal. Is the ability to think differently and provide that value to management is going to be really critical for an internal auditor, internal audit function to prosper and be successful. I think the challenges from the executive table and the ask for internal audit is going to be increased to be able to provide that level of soundboard, the level of critical thinking, etc. to the organizations. I think it's exciting times. It's a shift of where we're going to from where the audit profession was to where it's going and moving towards. I think it's going to be a more sexy audit profession for the graduates that's coming in. It's quite interesting because there's a lot more to think about. You're coming to a world where there's going to be avatars, there's a world where there's going to be Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, crypto thinking, etc., blockchain, etc. It's almost looking at how do you then change your mindset and way of working to adapt to agile ways of working, and not forgetting that the purpose and fundamental component of internal audit is to be independent, but provide that level of critical thinking, risk posture, risk advice to the organization. But you've got so much more tools to be able to do it. So for me, it's really exciting, really interesting, and I think this profession is going to grow further and further. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Lastly, Ria, please share your thoughts.
Well, I'm just so excited about the changes. You know, I think in the future, sample sizes will be less of an important matter. We will actually look at full populations of data. We will look at control indicators through dashboards, through continuous control auditing. We will actually analyze some of the root causes for cyber threats. And we will really dig into root cause analysis to see how organizations can move forward. I think the days of just simply writing an audit report 6 weeks after the fact or 3 months after the fact, those days are gone. Audit reports will need to be timely, or I almost want to call just in time, almost like the days when we did stock systems. But if you provide input months after the fact, you're irrelevant. So the future for me is a very rosy future, an exciting future, where we will certainly start using a lot more technology than we are now, and even use technology to conduct audits. And I believe data will be a core foundation of that, and to use that to provide insights, identify risks. And for me, it's all about the attitude that internal auditors will have while they conduct those audits. And then the values. We need to be inherently respectful of our organization. We need to have high levels of integrity and objective and independent to do this work. And then together we can thrive with the organizations.
Thank you, Ria. We've come to the end of our discussion, so thank you everyone for sharing your valuable inputs. And thank you to everyone else for tuning in. From all of us at SNG Grant Thornton, we hope we have given you some insights on the internal audit function in recognition of International Internal Audit Awareness Month. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.